Joining me right now is co-owner of the Pro Wrestling Syndicate, Eric Pleska. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Good to be here.
All right, Eric, you have a big show. You have big shows going on this weekend. One of the biggest weekends of the year for any wrestling fan. Before we get into that, though, I want some of the fans listening right now to get to know maybe more about you. You know, how you got into the business and all that fun stuff. So, my biggest question that I ask off the top is, what made you a mark for the business?
I became a fan of wrestling. I'm 32. I started watching wrestling when I was probably 6, 7 years old. I used to watch World Class Championship Wrestling. It came on here in New York on ESPN. I became a fan of Great Kabuki and Bruiser Brody, the Von Erichs, Michael Hayes, and from there got into AWA and then eventually WWE and NWA and whatnot, and became a fan growing up. Started going to live shows in the early '80s, and went to my first independent show when I was 8. And I was always like that weird kid that would go to shows and bring a notebook and write down the results, and then come home and rebook the show. And this would be better if this happened, and like, oh, this guy no-showed, I feel kind of like cheated, and if this guy would have had a better match with this guy, stuff like that. And I don't know, as I got older, I became a concert promoter, which I did for 5 years. I've thrown over 500 music shows, a lot of national acts, guys like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, the Misfits, bigger hip-hop acts like Slick Rick and Rakim. Did that for years, and towards the end of my run with that, I started booking old-school wrestlers to make appearances, and eventually the wrestlers just started saying, like, why don't you just run wrestling shows? And I'm like, really? Like, that easy? And they're like, yeah, like, do it, try it. And at the time, one of my buddies was doing an indie show in New Jersey, and he was like, come hang out, come watch the show, whatever. I go down there. There's literally 7 fans there. I won a 50-50 raffle. I won a whopping $20. And the promoter comes up to me and is like, hey, do you think I could get that $20 back? I'm having some trouble paying my bills tonight. I'm like, what? Like, I don't understand. And he says, well, you're a promoter. You run music shows. You must go through this all the time. I'm like, no, I really don't even understand the situation at all. Like, if I book somebody, I'm going to make sure I have the money that I need to pay them. I'm not going to depend on my ticket sales at the door. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And it just kind of clicked. I'm like, I can try running a wrestling show, and even if I crash, burn, and fail, at least I could try. And certainly, at least everyone will get paid, so I can't do any worse than what I'm currently witnessing.
You guys probably have one of the hottest, if not the number one independent promotion right now on the East Coast. Everybody's talking about you guys. You guys probably have the best card going on WrestleMania weekend, and dare I say, probably a better card than the actual WrestleMania event. How did you and Pat Buck meet to form Pro Wrestling Syndicate?
Well, I started Pro Wrestling Syndicate solo in 2007, and in 2011, Pat Buck was a wrestler for me. He was in a tag team with John Silver, and Pat and I just started talking, and I felt that we complemented each other very well in a very heterosexual kind of way, where, things he was good at, I wasn't, and vice versa, and it just kind of balanced, and Pat expressed interest in wanting to come in as a co-owner. So March 2012, we became official co-owners. We have, official paperwork from the state of New Jersey. We're a registered, business partnership in the state of New Jersey, which means we do pay our taxes. And for the past year and change, we've been working very well together. Pro Wrestling Syndicate opened up a school. We have our own women's promotion in addition to PWS, and so far so good.
All right. Some of the names coming on this weekend for your Supercard, you have Bret Hart, Iron Sheik, you have John Morrison, Vader. But tell me about this one guy. How did Starman come to fruition in the PWS? Because anybody out there, any mark out there listening, knows who Starman is if you played the old 80s Nintendo game. How did this happen? Anything you can tell us about this guy?
I grew up with that game. That and The Legend of Zelda. Was my favorite video games growing up. It just kind of clicked one night, like, why not bring this character to life? And so we did. And luckily, Starman came out to the video game music, and the fans got it. Like, immediately, we're like, holy crap. Like, we were not expecting Starman to be as well received as it was. And Starman honestly, is probably the most popular guy at PWS right now, which is a great thing. It's a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. And the fans get it. Starman will, he freezes mid-match, just like the way a Nintendo game used to freeze. The referee will blow on him to unfreeze him, stuff like that. The fans pick up on it. They get what's going on, which is awesome.
I will tell you though, Eric, the one thing that's disappointed me this weekend is that there is no Starman versus the Amazon match, and maybe that'll happen in a future PWS show.
Well,
but
unfortunately, flights from parts unknown are very high this time of year, so it's very hard to fly in the Amazon, in the spring.
Speaking of that, tell us about some of these matches going on in Manhattan, New Jersey this week.
Well, Friday night is the last match ever of New Jack, ECW original, legendary wrestler, very popular. His final match ever anywhere. It'll be against Necro Butcher, and it'll be a first-time encounter between the two of them in a singles match, which you have two of arguably the best hardcore brawlers on the planet against each other for the first and last time ever, and this will be the end of New Jack's career. So, that's definitely, for me, a very special moment. And, also in terms of retirement, the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, their final appearance ever. These are two long-time wrestling legends. Definitely very honored and humbled, pun intended, to have these things taking place in the PWS ring. John Morrison taking on Jushin Liger on Friday night. That's going to be a big one. Morrison against Elijah Burke the night before. PWS titles on the line. Kevin Matthews against Colt Cabana. The Rock and Roll Express against the Briscoes. Kevin Steen, Dan Moss. Jushin Liger against Davey Richards and Tony Nese. There's something for everyone on these shows in addition to, appearances. People like Big Van Vader, people like Lita, MVP. We just added, literally 10 minutes ago, Mike Knox and Doc, who used to be Luke Gallows in WWE. So, it's something for everybody, hopefully.
Well, and like I said, Eric, possibly one of the best cards going on this weekend, if not the best wrestling show going on this weekend. I appreciate what you guys are doing for all the marks out there. And I do have to bring up one thing, though, because people have been reading that Shane Douglas, he's running Extreme Rising, and he canceled his shows, and he kind of had some words for you. Anything you want to do to talk about that little incident going on?
Well, I'll be very honest. I've never spoken to Shane Douglas. I was involved in a situation where New Jack was wrestling for Extreme Rising. He stopped working there and began working with us. Shane Douglas allegedly phoned him and offered him money to no-show our events in favor of doing Extreme Rising. New Jack immediately put Douglas on blast. I had reached out publicly saying, hey, I don't want to talk to Shane about this. If anyone could, link me up with him, that'd be great. If Shane has bad words to say about me, I'm flattered. I don't know. I don't want to get into a picking contest with the guy. I don't know him at all. But, what I will say is, if he wants to put me down, he's entitled to his opinion. I don't really know what it's based on because he doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. But, the track record of PWS, I think, stands for itself. We don't cancel shows. We've run shows in snowstorms. We've run them in the middle of Hurricane Sandy, literally with no power, hooked up to power generators in standing room only venues. We don't cancel. So if Shane Douglas is so high and mighty, I'd have to flip the script and kind of wonder why Extreme Rising isn't happening, but PWS is. So clearly we're doing something right.
There you go. Perfect. Eric, too, one last thing. Where can, if anybody, I don't know how they haven't heard of you guys yet, but any plugs you want to give out, your website, Facebook, all that fun stuff?
Sure. ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. We don't really like to push things or sell things. We kind of have that respect for the fans of saying, here's the card. If you decide you'd like to come, please do. And, our feelings won't be hurt if you don't. So ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. Every match is up there, as well as our, future dates and whatnot around the area.
All right. Perfect. Eric, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.